I was betrayed. Now what? There is no wound more silent than betrayal. Because the pain isn't just about what they did, it's about who did it. Someone you trusted, someone you embraced without armor. But Solomon, the wisest of kings, wouldn't tell you to ignore that wound, nor would he ask you to hide it. He would teach you to understand it, walk through it, and choose with a clean soul, not with a poisoned heart. 1. The heart knows its own bitterness, and no stranger shares its joy. Some betrayals don't scream, they whisper. They don't always come as outright infidelity or a caught lie. Sometimes they wear the mask of emotional neglect, prolonged indifference, or sweet promises broken and forgotten, like dust settling on what was once sacred. Betrayal doesn't always mark a date on the calendar, but it leaves a crack in the soul that is hard to mend. Solomon understood that a wounded soul needs time, but also truth. The wise do not ignore subtle signs. They stop to listen to what was never said, to feel what was silenced. Because betrayal rarely happens in a single moment, it's often foretold in cold gazes, empty words, and justified absences. Yet many refuse to see, out of fear of losing what they love, or facing the truth. But truth doesn't destroy, it frees. And Solomon knew that. Before forgiveness comes understanding. Before letting go comes naming. You cannot heal what you don't recognize. So the first step isn't outward, it's inward. Where is the wound? When did it start to ache? What sign did you ignore for love, fear, or hope? Only with that honesty does true healing begin. 2. Betrayal says more about them than about you. The fool is exposed by his actions, but the wise remain silent and observant. When someone betrays you, the first thing to break is not the bond, but your inner mirror. You're not only facing the pain of the act, but the question that gnaws at you from within. Did I fail? What did I do wrong? But that question, while human, often comes from the wrong place, from undeserved guilt. Solomon taught that the heart of the wise remains uncontaminated by the wrongdoing of others. Because betrayal, though it wounds you, does not begin in you. It begins in the character of the one who betrays. Many times, betrayal happens not because you are lacking, but because the other person doesn't know how to be loyal, even to themselves. They have no roots, no solid word, no peaceful conscience. Like a hollow tree, it may look strong from the outside, but it snaps with the first wind. Betrayal is not a reflection of your worth. It is proof of the emptiness in the other. Solomon would say, gold does not cease to be gold because someone threw it in the mud. Its essence remains. So does your soul. It still holds value, dignity, and light, even if someone tried to extinguish it. The wise are not defined by injustice. They learn, observe, grow stronger, and move on without carrying others' guilt. 3. Forgiveness is not amnesia. It's inner freedom. The glory of a person is to overlook an offense. Many believe that forgiveness means forgetting, erasing what happened, pretending it didn't hurt. But that's not forgiveness. That's denial. And what's denied doesn't heal, it hides. Solomon, with his calm wisdom, wouldn't ask you to ignore what they did. He would ask you to acknowledge it, and still choose not to carry it any longer. Forgiving is not excusing the betrayer. It's not justifying their act. It is choosing not to be a prisoner of that wound for the rest of your life. Because as long as you hold on to hatred, as long as you relive the betrayal, you remain tied to the one who hurt you. It's like dragging a shadow that should have been left behind. The wise do not live with chains. They live with purpose. True forgiveness begins when you realize it's not about them, it's about you. About clearing your heart so it can welcome peace again. About healing your soul so it won't repeat the pattern of pain. About letting go of resentment, not because the other deserves it, but because you deserve rest. Forgiveness declares, this hurt me, but it will not define me. This wounded me, but it will not poison me. The wise soul does not forgive out of weakness, but out of strength, because it understands that no wound is worth more than inner freedom. 4. Resentment poisons the soul that holds it. Better to live in a corner of the roof than in a house filled with conflict. Some people live in luxurious homes, but their hearts are prisons, not because of what they own, but because of what they harbor. Resentment is a flame that burns silently. It does not light the way, it burns from within. Solomon understood that the soul doesn't need big spaces, it needs peace. Better a humble, quiet corner than a palace where the wound rules. When you hold on to resentment, you think you're punishing the other, but in truth, you're punishing your own peace. Resentment is a burden you can't see, but it weighs you down. It robs your rest, distorts your decisions, weakens your joy. Sometimes we think that keeping pain alive makes us strong, but it only keeps us chained to the past. The wise know when to let go. They know that some battles are won not through confrontation, but through detachment, that not everything deserves a response, and not every wound should become armor. Because if you don't release the poison, you risk becoming the very thing that hurt you. Forgiveness may not happen instantly, but beginning to release resentment is beginning to clear the heart so it can bloom again. Solomon would say, "Guard your soul more than your wealth, for from it flows life. And where resentment reigns, life cannot grow." 5. True justice comes, even if late. The wicked may seem to prosper, but their end is ruin. One of the deepest wounds betrayal leaves is the sense of injustice. How can the one who hurt you move on as if nothing happened? Why does the liar, the unfaithful, the disloyal seem to escape punishment? That question, if not answered with wisdom, can poison your heart. Solomon watched many times as the wicked flourished for a while, but their roots were rotten. What seemed like success was only illusion, because life doesn't always judge right away, but it always judges. True character reveals itself over time, and whatever is built on lies eventually collapses. The wise are not shaken by the apparent peace of the traitor. They don't compare, don't envy, don't demand vengeance. They understand that everyone reaps what they sow, and those who sow betrayal will one day harvest loneliness, distrust, or emptiness. You may never see it, you may never know it, but the deepest justice is not external, it's the one that reaches the soul. That's why Solomon taught, don't let someone else's injustice destroy your integrity. Let your pain not become a thirst for revenge, because when you choose to live with nobility, even if no one applauds, you already stand on the side of truth. And in the end, the most valuable judgment is that of your own conscience at peace. 6. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Do not associate with the hot-tempered, nor walk with the violent. Forgiving is not an invitation to repeat the cycle. It's not extending your hand to someone who still holds a dagger. Many confuse forgiveness with return, as if letting go of resentment meant reopening the door to someone who already showed they can't protect your heart. But Solomon, with all his wisdom, made it clear, the wise can forgive, but also know when to walk away. Some bonds once broken should not be restored, not out of hate, but for emotional health, not out of coldness, but out of self-respect. Sometimes the most loving act you can offer your soul is a firm boundary, to say, I forgive you, but I will not return. Because not every story deserves a new chapter, some must end so you can begin again. The wise understand that it's not resentment that keeps them away, it's discernment. Forgiveness cleanses the soul, but reconciliation demands something more, that the other has changed, has developed awareness, accountability, and transformation. And that does not always happen. Just as a fire does not go out with sweet words, a relationship does not heal with empty promises. The wise look at the fruit, not just the flowers. And if the ground is still barren, if the tree still bends, they choose to plant their peace in another garden. A peaceful soul brings life to the body. After betrayal, it's natural to feel anger, the wish that the other feels the same, that they pay for what they did. But Solomon understood what many forget. Punishment doesn't always heal, and often only prolongs the pain. The wounded soul that seeks revenge is like a prisoner demanding jail for their captor, while staying behind bars themselves. True peace does not begin when the other suffers. It begins when you no longer need that to feel well. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, it is a declaration of inner power. It means telling your wound, you will no longer guide my steps. I will no longer live from you. It is closing the door to the past, not with hatred, but with clarity. Not with shouting, but with silence that has understood. Solomon, with all his experience among royal conflicts, broken loves, and difficult decisions, knew it. Revenge exhausts the soul. It's a bottomless pit that consumes your days, your thoughts, your health. But a peaceful soul brings life. It is like a garden that blooms again when the storm has passed. To forgive, to release, to let go, is not to forget. It is to take back control of your story and say, my soul is worth more than this pain. Because when you choose peace, you don't win against the other. You win the most important battle, the one within. Final conclusions. You were wounded, but you are not broken. What they did does not define who you will become. In this world of fragile relationships, empty words and volatile commitments, we have all, at some point, felt the stab of betrayal. And it doesn't matter how wise you are, how kind you've been, no one is exempt from the pain when trust is broken. But Solomon did not speak from theory. He knew the cracks of the soul, the tears in the night, the hard decisions between compassion and justice. And it was there, in the silence of his inner throne, where he learned that forgiveness is not surrender, it is rebirth. That letting go is not losing, it is reclaiming your peace. That healing is not forgetting, it is remembering without pain. Today maybe you carry an invisible wound. Maybe someone failed you, used you, lied to you, but you are not alone. And you are not condemned to live from that scar. You can do something deeper. Transform that pain into wisdom. Let it not harden you, but refine you. Let it not close you, but enlighten you. Here, on this channel, we continue to listen to ancient voices that still have something to say to the modern soul. If you felt these words spoke to you, subscribe, because some wounds don't need more noise, they need direction. And that's what you'll find here.